Hi, this is a quick guide to get you started with point-based lead scoring. Today, we launched the ability for you to apply points to leads based on certain actions they do so that you can measure how engaged they are and give the weights that you want. The point score is not linked to our predictive scoring. Our predictive scoring is separate. It's an algorithm we've developed which measures engagement over time and dynamically says, now the lead is hot, you should be reaching out, or he's just not that sales ready yet. The points give you the ability to set up your own rules and attribute points to certain actions they take on a website or other criteria. And how you should start is have a look at your website and then ask yourself, what are the actions that leads need to take in order for them to become sales ready? Certain companies have a website with pricing. So they say, well, if they look at our pricing page, that is a very important factor, and they'll give a lot of points for everybody who visits the pricing page. Other companies have a page where they can download, a final proposal or the guide towards purchasing or something which really indicates buying interest, and they give a lot of points to that. Then there's other pages such as, the page where you publish your blog posts. Now, this may indicate that somebody is not so interested in purchasing your solution or your product, but actually is looking for a job. So you may want to deduct points. So first, talk to the sales team, sit together with the sales and marketing managers, and try to identify which are the actions that will indicate whether or not a lead is a good lead and whether he should be passed on to sales or not. What we recommend then is to build a scale. Basically, just take an Excel and write down all the actions you came up with. The first visit, visited product X, the pricing, visited a checkout page or so on. And then you can give points to these different pages. You can define actions such as visiting the jobs, if they have a Gmail address, or Outlook or Hotmail or something generic, where you can deduct points. And you can give points for certain basic actions, such as visited a certain product or look at the case studies, which give a bit less points. And then you have some key pages, such as the contact page, the pricing page. If they want to go to a page where they can schedule a demo, where you want to give more points, and so on. And once you've defined all these actions and you decide, well, which ones are key actions, important actions, and kind of diminishing actions, you can think about a threshold. The point of giving a threshold is to say, well, once a lead reaches X amount of points, I want to notify the salesperson, or I want to tag him being a strong lead, or you want to take some other action. So define poor actions, good actions, and great actions that your leads are performing. Set a threshold, and then you can start building your scoring with Saleswings. Now, the way you do that is you go to the settings that you find here in the cockpit, and you go to the segment called the section called segments, tax point, lead score, and automations. And in order to apply points or lead scores, you will create segments. Now, we recommend you can either create separate segments just for the points, or you can then tie these points to other segments and other actions that you're creating. So let's take an example. I always like to give the example of the pricing page, which is obviously a strong buying signal. So here you want to give the segment a name, well, pricing page visitors. And you first have to set the conditions. So the URL we're looking at here contains the word pricing, which is why in this case, well, I want to say, well, the visited URL as a rule contains pricing. Now I'm going to say, well, I want him to look at that at least twice. So I'm going to say more than once. So I'm going to give him a lot of points if they look at that more than once. At the same time, for me, I'm doing a rule which is mandatory. So both rules need to match. I also want that the email address of the lead does not contain Gmail. We also get leads which have Hotmail. So I'm going to also say, well, it does not contain Hotmail. Now, you can, of course, create a separate segment or rule just for email addresses here and combining them. It's really up to you how you want to organize that, but it's worth just giving it a little bit of thought before you get started. So in this case, I'm going to then do an automation, and what you want to select is change lead score. This impacts the point score. So you can increase the score for strong actions. You can also decrease it if you think the action is poor buying signal, like visiting the jobs page, and you can set it to a certain level. For example, what we do is, when somebody starts a free trial, so he has reached a certain stage, we set it to 500 points. In this case, I'm just going to increase it, and I'm going to say, well, here I'm going to increase it by 50 points. I would save that in this case, and then anybody who visits the pricing page gets 50 points. At the same time, what you can do is, here I can see this tag pricing. So if you think this is, well, also interesting to know for a salesperson that the points came together like that, you can add another automation. You can add a tag. You can write, pricing. You select the color, and you can add the tag. You can also, select existing tags if you have already used this tag. If you feel the action is extremely important, for example, a lead is visiting a page where they can download, again, like the guide to purchasing or something which is showing a very strong interest, then you could, for example, send an email notification. So you can send an email notification to the assigned lead owner or to a dedicated salesperson in the organization. This is a quick guide how you can apply pricing. So think about, what are the actions which indicate buying interest or general interest or poor interest. Write them out in Excel. Think about your thresholds. Maybe you want to say, at a certain number of points, you notify somebody, and then you give the points. So you have an overview and can communicate that within your organization. Concerning the thresholds, I think an important point as well is that if I create a new segment here, I also have the ability to use the points as triggers. So I could create a segment called sales ready leads. And then I could use the condition called points. And if in my scoring I say, well, 100 points is, when somebody reaches sales readiness because he's taken X amount of actions, I can say, well, the points need to be more than, 99 or 100. And when that happens, well, then I want to send an email notification to the assigned lead owner. Then the lead owner who's assigned will get an email saying, well, this lead just entered the segment sales ready leads because he's got 100 points and more, and then he can take very effective, timely sales actions. Well, if you need any help, just chat with us down here. We're here to support you, and I wish you a great day and great success.